All right, and we're off. So, hi, I'm Aaron, in case you didn't know. These are a few things that I've done, not that you really care. Bottom one probably being the most important one, general troublemaker. I watched my daughter fall off our swing set last night. My wife sent me that picture this morning. We have a broken arm of an almost 4-year-old. It's her twin sister up on the hospital bed because that's what I do. I'm going to talk really fast. Typically, I do this presentation with my colleague, John Bergman, and usually we have an hour and a half, and I'm going to do it in 20 minutes. So we're going to drink from a fire hose, so sit down and get ready because we're going fast. So first off, that's John Bergman on the left, and I'm on the right. And I teach up in Woodland Park, Colorado. Go down to Colorado Springs, hang a right, up Pikes Peak. We're up in there, about 8,500 feet above sea level. About a school of about 1,000. I've been there about 6 years. John just moved to Chicago. Any Chicago people, you can talk to him up there. But we started doing a few things in 2006 that have really led to some exciting things in our classrooms and people asking some crazy questions and wondering what in the world we are doing. So, and it has grown to be known as the flipped classroom. Now, I hate the phrase, the flipped classroom. It drives me nuts. But we just wrote a book, and it's coming out, and its title is The Flipped Classroom. So it's kind of stuck. So, but what it does, it has some weird connotations that go with it. So a little bit of vocabulary. We started calling these podcasts and then vodcasts because they're videos, so you put a V in front of it. And then we call them precasting because the kids are watching some videos beforehand. And sometimes it's called reverse instruction. We call it three-ring circus, and some people go, whoa, you guys are nuts. So we have about 3 models that I like to talk about. First off is live recording of lessons. Then what's grown to be known is called the flipped classroom, and then something that we use now called the flipped mastery. And I'm going to keep saying we because John just moved to Chicago 3 weeks ago and it's driving me nuts, so I can't stop doing it. But really I want to talk about 6 models that have happened over 6 years. Now you notice once we hit flipped mastery, that component keeps coming up, and then we started exploring some other things. I'm going to talk about how those have been incorporated into what we're doing and how we've built off of the flipped classroom model and incorporated some of the good stuff in terms of inquiry and science education that keep happening, and then where I think things are going, and it's going to scare me once I get there. So we started off in 2006, 2007. John and I both arrived at Woodland Park High School that year. John came from Denver. He taught up here in Cherry Creek for a long time, so you may have met him. I came from Southern California, and there we were, 2006. So in 2006, we found some software that allowed us to record our lessons. We basically did the exact same thing that we'd been doing for a bunch of years prior to getting to Woodland Park. Me for 6 years, John for like 87 or something like that, because he's kind of old and gray. That's usually his joke, but he's not here to tell it, so I'll tell it for him. So 2006, 2007, we did a few things. We got some software and a microphone. We pressed start at the beginning of our lesson, and we pressed stop in the end. We were just archiving the video. Just like I did earlier, I pressed start at the beginning and I'll press stop at the end. I'm going to archive this lesson. It was really simple. It took a piece of software, a microphone, and a couple clicks of a button. That's it. No real major change. So what we were noticing is a few things. Kids were going home and they're getting frustrated. Okay? They would frantically write down every single thing I put up on the board, and they would go home and they would look at it and they would try to translate that into an assignment that I would give them at home. And they were getting stuck. And their parents didn't know chemistry. And their calculus students had an even bigger problem because their parents hadn't done calculus ever. If they did, it was 20 years ago. I couldn't help my kid do calculus right now. However, if they had some videos, I probably could. So kids were getting stuck. They were getting frustrated. And I said, you know what? That's when a kid needs me leaning over their shoulder. When they're trying to translate what they've been taught into something that they're supposed to actually produce a product with. That's when they need an expert leaning over their shoulder saying, oh, you know what? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? Steering them, directing them where they need to go. So then we had the idea. Let's pre-record all of our lessons. Instead of just recording them live like we've been doing, which has been great for the kids who are gone for a soccer game or track meet or forensics meet or whatever happens to be, let's pre-record them all. So we said, okay, so we did it. For chemistry and AP chemistry, we pre-recorded every single one of our lessons for the 2000, sorry, I'm losing my buttons and moving things around so I can see what's coming next. There we go. Boop. 2007, 2008 school year. So John would do Unit 1 chemistry. I'd do Unit 1 AP chemistry. I would do Unit 2 chemistry. He'd do Unit 2 AP chemistry. Then my wife had twins. John did the next 3 units, and I told him I'd pick up the slack later, and I never did. He'll get over it. So that's what we did. We just flipped the lessons. So kind of the gist of the flipped classroom is what used to be done at home is now done at school, and what used to be done at school is now done at home. And that's kind of the nutshell of the flipped classroom. That's why it's called the flipped classroom. You take the lecture out of the classroom, you do it at home. You take all the stuff like you would typically call homework, and you do that in class with an expert leaning over their shoulder. Now that's nothing new. Okay, they've been doing this for hundreds of years. English teachers, they do that. What do? You read the book at home, and you come to class and you talk about it. It's nothing new. Here, my students watch the video at home, and they come to class and they talk about it. It's the same thing. It's nothing new. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's just we got so stuck in this lecture mode. I'm not even sure where it came around. Hundreds of years, great education, all of a sudden we start lecturing at our students. I don't know why, it just happened. I got stuck in that. I was a good lecturer. I did it all the time. And then I said, that's not what's best for my kids. What's best for my kids is when I'm sitting over their shoulder and I'm helping them, doing this. I walk around the classroom and I talk to every single kid every single day. And I know exactly where they are, what they know, what they don't know, and where I can direct them. Now what happened is that freed up a whole lot of time. Because I used to spend 30 minutes in the classroom teaching them stuff. And I took that out of the classroom and I went, whoa, I've got all this extra time. How many of you have extra time in your classroom? Yeah, right. Okay, you're usually lucky to cram everything in. You got standards, national standards, science standards, state standards, all kinds of standards. Whoever wrote those are crazy. Sorry. It was my fault. Blame Barry, he left. Okay, so now I had all this time, and I was like, oh, let's do some more labs, lots of labs, because labs are good. We're science teachers, that's what we do, right? And so I was able to double the number of labs that my kids did. Now, at first, it was just kind of like, I got to find something to fill the time, where these kids are going to go crazy and start breaking things and lighting things on fire, which is typical chemistry lab anyhow. But that's what I did, is I just found some labs. Now, later, I went back and kind of reflected a little further. But the biggest, I think, benefit of all this is the kids who need the attention, they got the attention. In a traditional stand-up front and lecture model, who gets the attention? I know. Johnny Know-It on the front row who has all the answers to everything, wants to prove to everyone that he knows all the answers. That's the person that gets the attention. Matt needs the attention. Matt used to get the wrong kind of attention. He was the kid in the back going, throwing things at people, yelling, drawing attention from where the attention needed to be. On me, of course, right? No. So he was trying to get attention, but he was getting the wrong kind of attention. Now he gets the right kind of attention that he needs, because the kids that need the help, they get my time. The kids know what they're doing. They're like, yeah, great, you're fine, move on. They're like, but I want attention. Yeah, I know you do. You'll be okay without it. It works. Big benefit, time recovery. I teach on a 90-minute block. Typically start with 5-minute warm-up. Might spend 20 minutes going over the previous night's homework. A lot of the kids are copying their friend's paper at that time, not learning anything, still getting credit for the assignment. Then you present some new content if you're a lecturer, and then some guided or independent practice that they could practice it on. Now, on a good day, you would have a good inquiry-based activity that you could use in place of a lecture, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But then with the flip model, 5-minute warm-up activity, 10 minutes. Just answering their questions. Because one thing you lose by delivering instruction with a video is the spontaneous, I don't know. Well, guess what? The kids have my cell phone number. They can text me. I have a public fan page where they can send me a message on Facebook. Not my regular one, because we're not supposed to do that, but I have a public fan page everyone can see. They can email it to me. They can send it to me a million different ways. They know how to contact me. Or you teach them to write it down and bring it to class the next morning, and we have a Q&A session at the beginning of class. Then they get 75 minutes for the kids to work. And me to put my feet up and drink coffee. No, not even close. For me to walk around and talk to every single kid in every single class every single day. It's great. I love it. Okay, I talk more about that, but I don't have time. So 3 key elements of the flipped classroom. Quality instructional videos. Now, you can make those, and I recommend that if you're going to do this, that you make your own, because when the kids hear their teacher's voice and see their teacher's face on the video, there's a connection that they don't have if they're watching something that Sal Khan made on the Khan Academy. Now, his videos are good. He's provided a great service for the world, but that's not the kid's teacher. It's beneficial to see your teacher. Now, once you do that, you have all this extra time. You got to go, whoa, what am I going to do in class? I was talking to our assistant superintendent. One of her daughters goes to school up at Colorado State. And she's like, yeah, my daughter loves it when her professors podcast their lessons because she never has to go to class. She just downloads the lecture, sits in her pajamas, and drinks coffee and listens to the lecture. To which I say, if that's the case and the kid doesn't have to go to class, there is zero value in showing up. And you might as well sit in your pajamas. So I said, what do I need to do as a teacher to make class time valuable and the kids want to come to class? And so I really started to think about every single question on every single piece of paper that I give my kids, every single activity that I have them do, every single lab, and how does that lead them toward mastery of the content that they need to master, to understand. So number 2, they're engaging class activities. That has been huge, and that's where everything has progressed from since the whole flip started in 2006-07. And then robust assessment, which I will not have time to talk about. I use Moodle. Talk to Brian. He'll help you out. Okay. Flipped mastery, 2008-2009. This is kind of, if you're familiar with the Khan Academy, that's kind of where they're at. Students have to master stuff. They go through, they watch the video, they take the assessment, and they get their little green bar until they get them all done, until they're all read, and they're done. Great. Okay. Could work for some kids. Not quite what I wanted to do, but it's where I started. So I'm about 3 years past that now. Okay. Mastery learning. Ever heard of Benjamin Bloom? Bloom's taxonomy? Okay, he did a mastery learning experiment back in the 70s. And it did great. He has data to show that the people would learn using this mastery model, but they ran into some logistical problems. Here's the problem. If you want people to master stuff before they move on, and you're delivering live content to that same group of people, and everybody's at a different point, and different time, and a different day, how do you still deliver the content at that time? Well, the nice thing about now is we don't have to worry about that because we can make videos really easily. I'm doing it right now in the background. I'm not even thinking about it, just doing it automatically. And I can deliver those videos asynchronously. After that first year of making the videos, we said we have a whole library of videos. Why does every kid have to do the same thing on the same day? So we can overcome one of the problems that Benjamin Bloom had with asynchronous content delivery. The other problem is assessment. If everybody has to take an assessment and they have to prove that they get it before they move on to the next one, how many versions of the same test do you need? You need a ton because you have no test integrity if everyone's taking it at the same time. Snap a picture, text it to my friend. That's what I did when I had paper tests when we first went to this model. It didn't work. So we used Moodle. We used the random question generator where it just generates different numbers for different kids, and you have a test bank and you tell it to pick some. And we solved the asynchronous testing problem that Bloom ran into with Mastery back in the 70s. So we've leveraged technology to do something good that flopped because the technology just wasn't there and it was too much of a burden on teachers. Okay, so what's the classroom look like? Looks like me walking around helping kids. Now, normally I'd show you a video here, but I don't have enough time. So we're going to move on. I'll show you a picture of me talking to Josh. We do a lot of formative assessment based on learning objectives with benchmarks. So get here by the end of the week for your A's. We still live in this ABCDF world. Okay. Formative assessment. Now, I used to call formative assessment kind of the dipstick test where you check the oil, but how many of you actually check your oil? Okay, I blew up my Toyota a couple years ago because I forgot to check the oil. It ran out and I seized my engine. Now I have a Subaru. It's great. Okay, it's okay, but I'm poor now because of that. So, not because of that, because of my teacher and that. Never mind. Okay, so formative assessment, I used to call it checking the oil, but a better analogy, I think, is a GPS. You're driving down the road, it says turn left. You turn left, you're good. Turn right, you're good. It says turn right, and you turn left, what does it say? Recalibrating, redirecting. So as a teacher, I need to be the GPS. You have made a wrong turn here. I need to redirect you back to where you need to go. So I do lots of talking, a lot of just spot checks. Kids, prove to me that you get it. I'm sorry, that is a major misconception. Let's work on that. Let's talk about that. You know what? You four right there, you have the same problem. Let's do a little small group work over here at the smartboard. Work out a few problems or whatever and move on. Every kid, every day gets my attention, and I know how to diagnose the problems and redirect them when they need to. Summative assessment, they're done on Moodle. Talk to Brian. Okay, demos. What about demos? We do lots and lots of demos. Now, the cool thing about demos, now earlier we had a great demo. We saw the Cam Crush demo. I love that one. I did that with my kids. But I was sitting in the back, and I couldn't see. Most of my kids, and I have a class of like 35, and they're in the back, they can't see. Now I do demos, instead of 1 on 35, I do 1 on 5. I do them a lot of times, and sometimes you do it on 1 on 35, like I'm not going to buy dry ice 8 times for 8 different days. But the Can Crush demo, I probably do that, I don't know, 100 times over the course of the year because kids do it when they're ready. And we have a one-on-one conversation. It's not me telling them about the demo, it's me asking each of those 5 kids a question about what they saw and how that applies to some of the stuff they've learned. Oh, you don't learn about that. Guess what? You need to go look at something else because that's one of your learning objectives. What we've seen are independent learners. I give them objectives and I give them resources and I say go, and they do it. It's great, and they do it themselves, and I get them where they need to go, but it's up to them to do it. Differentiation, I was never a good differentiator until I started doing this because now I talk to every kid every day, and I'll tell you more about how I do this here in just a minute. No gaps. Chemistry teachers, if they don't know Unit 1, can they do Unit 2? If they can't write a formula for a compound, can they balance a chemical equation and do stoichiometry? Probably not. Okay, so you don't let them progress until they get it, and then once they get it, they move on. You don't have those holes, and the kids sitting back getting a D- and actually passing your class because their lab partner did all their work. That's a problem, but you don't have that anymore. No place to hide. Every kid has to talk to me every day and have a conversation with me. All right, what about inquiry? Okay, I've talked a lot about direct instruction, and that's where it all started, but that's not where it's ended. So in 2009, 2010, we discovered POGL, and we discovered standards-based grading or objectives-based grading. So that's what we did. We have learning objectives, and we have stuff that goes with it. Some of the stuff, we found some great POGL activities that taught them that, to which we said, do that, don't watch my stupid video. We had the resource there, and we still have those videos if a kid wants to go watch it, but the POGL activities are great. Elements, compounds, and mixtures one, oh man, that POGL activity is amazing. I just did it with my kids on Friday. Every single one of my students can tell me the difference between an element, a compound, and a mixture. I've never had that kind of success before, but the POGIL activity was great. So once we discover a good POGIL activity, guess what? Scrap the video. I use that so the kid can meet my learning objective that I've established based on state standards, national standards, my experience as a chemistry teacher, and just stuff that I like, for them to get where they need to go. So that was a big step. Now, there wasn't a huge step in terms of slides and lots of stuff because I'm going to go directly to 2010 and 2011. So we still have POGIL. We still have standards-based grading. I actually went to Mary Bartholomew's workshop back in January, and I learned a ton about what I was doing wrong with my POGIL and learned how to do it correctly. And so last year we started to do it correctly. And we started implementing elements of UDL, and then we also discovered FET. And FET, you saw those earlier, so I won't talk about those. UDL, Universal Design for Learning. It's kind of based on design architectural principles. Universal design and architecture makes sure everybody can get in the building. Now, 100 years ago, they built buildings with lots of stairs because most of the people could use the stairs. And most of the people could get in. Now, the idea with universal design is you design for the fringe and everybody benefits. So you design your building for people who are 8 feet tall and 2 feet tall, people in a wheelchair and the mom pushing the stroller, and everybody still has access. So you do the same thing in your classroom. You design for the high and the low and the creative and the logical, linear. You design for the fringe and everybody benefits. So a couple of the tenets of UDL is you need to give kids multiple ways to learn something and multiple ways to prove to you that they've learned it. And it has to be meaningful to the student. So I used to require that every kid watched my videos and did my activities and took my tests. I don't do that anymore. Now, the kid can watch my video, can do my assignment, but if they want to learn the objective some other way, more power to them. Google it. Watch somebody else's video. Read the textbook. There's a novel idea. Okay. Find an inquiry activity. Oh, here's one I have for you. Do this one instead. I don't care how they learn it. I want them to learn it, and they have to prove to me that they learn it in a way that's meaningful for them. So I still use my Moodle tests. Some kids cannot pass those to save their life. So what do? I said, great, prove it to me some other way. I had a kid make me a video game last year. He designed a video game to prove to me he knew how to predict the products of single and double replacement reactions and balance them. Ah! It was amazing. Holy cow. Then I had a kid watching it going, can I play that game for my test? Sure. Done. I had a kid who wrote out in prose every single thing he knew about my learning objectives and made up his own math problems and did them and turned that in. That was his assessment. Awesome. Do that. I don't care what it is. Prove to me you get it. You don't have to take my dumb test. Again, nothing new. You know who does this really, really well? By designing things for students and giving them a million different ways that they can prove it that's meaningful to them? Homeschoolers. Learn from the homeschoolers. No, not the weird ones. Not the ones that don't let their kids go out and meet other kids, but the ones that do it right, that are really conscious about the learning needs of their kids and really know what their kids are into and give them the opportunities to explore and represent their understanding of things in ways that are meaningful. So find some good homeschoolers. Now, great, they can do it like on a 1 to 3 environment, not a 1 to 35, but there are some families I know that are getting close to 35 kids that homeschool. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this year, what am I doing new this year? So I got the videos for video instruction. I got POGIL activities. I got 2 more minutes left. I got standards-based grading. I got UDL. I got FET stuff, which are amazing. I discovered Wolfram Alpha. You guys know what Wolfram Alpha is? Wolfram Alpha does your computations for you. Wolfram Alpha will do, if you type in NaCl, it tells you it's sodium chloride and all the properties it knows about it that's in its database. So that got me thinking, what do my kids really actually need to know, like off the top of their head? I don't know the answer to that question yet. So guess what I'm doing this year? Open internet tests. What am I thinking? I have no idea what I'm thinking. I'm 1 week into it. I don't have a clue. But I'm going nuts with this. It's great. I told my kids that. Their eyes lit up, their jaws dropped, and like every kid ran for a computer and jumped on Wolfram Alpha after I showed it to them. They're like, oh, it'll do my math. I'm like, yeah, but you have to know what math to put in there. That's the key question. If all you do is give a problem set on a worksheet, yeah, you punch it in and get your answers. But if you're asking them good questions, we have to figure out what math to do and then use that to help them do the computations, that's good math. Okay, so that's a whole other question. So the flipped class, what is it not? It's not just about videos. It started there, and 4 years ago, if you heard me give this talk, it was probably a lot about video and video production. It's blown up even way more than that because there's so many other great things you can do because I'm not delivering direct instruction in the class and wasting their time. Notice, I still believe there's a place for direct instruction. That's why I have the videos. I just don't believe that place is in the classroom. It's somewhere else. It's not magic. People think this is going to solve all the woes of education. It's not. It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not an excuse for lazy teaching and bad teaching. I know teachers who do this poorly. They use my videos and they turn them on, and they let the kids do it, and they put their feet up, and they drink coffee, and they never interact with their kids. Please don't do that, especially not with my videos. It's a piece of the puzzle. Okay, we've heard a lot of amazing tools to use in the classroom today. Use them. Use them all. Use this as well. Don't pick one, because one can't do it all. There's a lot of my videos that are just junk because they're just bad for teaching that particular topic. Generally speaking, I find a POGIL activity for those because it works better that way. Mary mentioned that she doesn't use POGIL for everything. I don't think you can use it for everything. Maybe you can. If you can, do it. Great. Please do. Don't make a video for everything. Don't use a POGIL activity for everything. Don't do a FET for everything. Use the good ones that are going to be good for the stuff for your classroom. Okay, a colleague of mine up in where do you live? This state, Michigan. He says we don't use a tool for the sake of using tools. We use a tool when it's appropriate for the job at hand. Don't just do it because it's cool. Do it because it's appropriate for teaching the particular thing that you want to teach. Go to flipteaching.com. It's not my website. A guy named Ramsey Musalam. He teaches in San Francisco. He's really got it set up. It's probably the best summary of all the ways you can do flip classroom video instruction. He has 4 models. You can look at it and just make sure you click on them when you get there. A few things that I believe. I believe in learning, not teaching. I believe in teachers, just not teaching as we typically think of it. I think teachers have to be the chief learner in the classroom. They need to model good learning. If you don't know the answer, and it's okay not to because your kids are smarter than you anyhow, show them where to go for the answer. Wolfram Alpha is great, but you got to know how to use it. Wikipedia is great, but you got to know how to use it. Google is great, but you got to know how to filter your results. Okay, and it's not just about the videos. It is. Now, I still love inquiry. I love it. Some people think I don't like inquiry because I make videos. I love inquiry. It's great. When I find a good inquiry activity, I scrap my video. I blame collaboration. Let the kids talk. Let the kids work. Somebody mentioned they don't have their classroom in rows. I haven't had a classroom in rows in 5 years. It's great. I love it. The kids work. I have a couch in my room. It's the best decision I ever made in my life. Kids just pile on the couch, like 8 high, and they collaborate on the couch. Wait a minute. Never mind. Personalization. I can talk to every kid every day, and I can give them the instruction that they need. I know what they need and when they need it. I don't have the same expectations for every kid. Rocket science kid, most brilliant kid I've ever had in my career, they have to have it perfect, or they do it again. The kid who this is the hardest class I've ever taken in life, good enough often is. So I differentiate that way. It's customizable, not just chemistry. It's growing. We have a network of about 1,600 teachers that are using elements of this. Flippedclass.com. We'll put it up in a little bit. Go there. It's growing. By the way, college professors, a lot of your students are going to expect stuff like this. Most students learn 24/7 on demand where they want it, when they want it, from things like YouTube. They're not going to come to your class to hear a 2-hour lecture. Sorry. It's an answer to the problems facing education. Teachers need to ask one question. When does Aaron's book come out? It's this fall. ISTE's publishing it. We're in the editing stage. Sorry, that's not the question. The question is, what is best for my students? And then go do that. There's my contact info. I have business cards. Thank you.